try and correlate it. We'll also try and correlate with our Srimad Bhagavatam class, wherein we are discussing about Queen Kunti's prayers. So before I start, I would like to offer my prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmritamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Swapadantik Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Swajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते जय पताका स्वामिनिति नामिने आचार्य प्रदानिताय कृपा प्रदायिने गौर कथा धामदाय नगर ग्रंथारिणे नमो ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश। So Hare Krishna. So today we'll try and discuss and we'll understand as to how unlimited Krishna's mercy is, and how can we also get Krishna's mercy. What is the process of getting Krishna's mercy? So while we recite the Mangalacharan prayers, so there is one specific prayer that Prabhupada has included in Mangalacharan, that is, we call out to Krishna telling that, hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu. So Karuna Sindhu means the ocean of mercy. So Krishna is the ocean of mercy. So his mercy is just unlimited. We cannot measure as to how merciful Krishna is, because when we, his Jivatmas, rebel against the Lord in his supreme abode, and we tell him that even we want to enjoy as he does in his abode, Krishna grants that, and he creates this material world for us, so that, and he not only creating the material world, but in fact he provides each and every amenities and facilities, so that the Jivatma who rebels against the Lord and comes down to this material world, so that he doesn't go through any he doesn't find lack of anything, and for that purpose Krishna provides every facility even in this material world. And after all this, he sends his representative through our acharyas like Srila Prabhupada and our Guru Maharaj, in order to reclaim us back, we being his spiritual children. So in this entire process, we can understand as to how merciful Krishna is, because in this material world, so if we are rebelling against somebody, or if we are going against someone, that person would not even turn towards us and see. But the Supreme Lord, he is time and again trying to establish the fact that he is our ever well-wisher and is our ultimate protector. And how the way that he's showing through is, he's reciprocating to our prayers, even though we as conditioned souls have rebelled against him, and we've come down, and this material world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam, has acharyas mentioned and has scripture describe it. Even when we are going through difficulties, it is our own previous activities, our own past karmas. In spite of that, Krishna makes effort. He not only makes effort, he guarantees that he tells even Arjuna in the war field that Arjuna, you declare that my devotees will never perish. So even in such situations wherein we've gone against the Lord and we've come down to this material world, Krishna's love on us is never decreased. So that is one of the and that is one of the qualities of Krishna, that is that he's all merciful, that he's ocean of mercy. So one of the senior Vaishnavas, he mentions that Krishna's mercy is just so unlimited that our limited intellect cannot, we cannot understand Krishna's mercy. Because, the way he shows mercy on each individual, it varies from circumstance to circumstance. Because if there are various examples in the scriptures wherein he's showing mercy upon each one of them in different way. His reciprocation to each individual is different. Is different. So this Vaishnava from whom I was hearing the lecture, he was mentioning as to how the Supreme Lord's mercy is just unlimited, and his reciprocation to his devotees depends from circumstance to circumstance. So if we think Krishna's mercy is in protecting his devotees, then Hiranyakashipu was opposite to it. He gave mercy to Hiranyakashipu in form of death. So in spite of, Hiranyakashipu, he was always thinking as to how to kill this Hari. And even if his mentality was as to how to kill Hari, he never liked the Lord. He never performed any devotional service unto the Lord. But Lord saw this aspect as to how Hiranyakashipu was continuously remembering and meditating upon the Lord. The fact that his mood was all different than compared to his son Prahlad Maharaj. But at the end, when Nrsimhadev descended, we can see as to how Hiranyakashipu was being killed. But in spite of all the demonic activities Hiranyakashipu has done, Lord awarded Hiranyakashipu liberation. So if we think that a Lord gives mercy to his devotees in form of protection, then Hiranyakashipu was opposite, wherein he gave mercy to Hiranyakashipu in form of death. And when we see even in case of Prahlad Maharaj, in Satya Yuga, Nrsimhadev descended just for Prahlad Maharaj. We can see how an entire canto of 7 is being dedicated for the glories of Prahlad Maharaj, and his devotion was so much unto the Lord that Lord had to just incarnate for Prahlad Maharaj. So we know as to how Lord doesn't have to descend to this world. Sitting in his supreme abode, Golok Vrindavan, he can just, just by his willpower, he can kill all the demons. But to satisfy his devotees, to have that loving reciprocation, Lord descends to this material world. And one of the best example was Prahlad Maharaj, where the Lord took Narsimha avatar only for protection of Prahlad Maharaj. So now that is one example. And another example from the scripture is, if we think that Krishna's mercy is in giving everything, then Bali Maharaj was opposite. And Sudama, wherein Krishna, showed his mercy on Sudama by giving him all the opulences. In exchange of, he offered only a handful of chipped rice to the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord was so pleased by Sudama's offering that he gave all the opulence that anybody in this material world could desire. So if we think that Krishna's mercy is in giving, then Bali Maharaj would be opposite, wherein the Supreme Lord descended as a dwarf, that is Vamana Dev, and he when he went to Bali Maharaj and he asked that you are that I am a Brahmana and give me something in charity, and Bali Maharaj tells, you can take wherever you keep your three footsteps on the land, the land which is being covered by your footstep, the land is yours. And then we know how Vamanadev expands himself, and he keeps with one of the footstep he covers the heavenly planets, and in his second footstep he covers the lower planets. And when he asks Bali Maharaj as to where should I keep my third foot, Bali Maharaj surrenders himself and he offers his head, and he tells the Lord that keep your third foot on my head. And when this entire pastime was being performed by the Lord, it is said that Bali Maharaj's guru Shukracharya, he was as soon as he saw Vamanadev, his guru could identify that as the Supreme Lord, and he told Bali Maharaj that Bali don't get entrapped with this Brahman. He's going to take away everything from you. So in spite of Bali Maharaj knowing that, he surrendered on everything unto the Supreme Lord, and as a result of this, the Supreme Lord became the doorkeeper of the planet that the Lord had given, that Bali Maharaj was ruling. He became the doorkeeper of the kingdom of Bali Maharaj. So we can see as to how Krishna's mercy is inconceivable with our limited knowledge. So that is why it's been mentioned that he is Karuna Sindhu. And we can also see as to how when we as the conditioned souls come down to this material world, he sends he's so merciful that it is us who have gone against the Lord and come down to the material world. In spite of that, Krishna is so merciful that he comes in every yuga, and he performs such beautiful and wonderful pastimes, and the only reason is to attract the jivatmas, so that we all don't suffer in this material world, and we can go back to the supreme abode and serve Radha and Krishna there. So for this purpose, we can see as to how the Supreme Lord in every yuga, it could be Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga also, even though this Kali Yuga has so many faults and everything filled in it, Krishna, in spite of all these, he comes and he descends and he performs his Leela in order to attract the in order to attract the conditioned souls. So we can see as to how even in this age of Kali, the Supreme Lord descends as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wherein he's the Supreme Lord himself, but in the mood of Radharani. So it is said that all the expansions of Krishna, that is, it could be his internal potency and his dearmost servant, Srimati Radharani. It could be that here, in this age of Kali, where people cannot perform yagnas, Krishna descends as the holy name of the Lord, and he descends as Mahaprasadam, because we know how Jagannath is just so merciful that he keeps on distributing his prasadam, unlimited prasadam, to his devotees. So he's distributing his mercy in form of his holy name, in form of his prasadam, and there is the Lord replicates his supreme abode in the material world, where it is Bulok Vrindavan, and where he comes down and he performs his beautiful and wonderful pastimes. So we can see as to how Lord is descending in every form, and the only purpose of it is that he wants, we being his children, he wants us, he wants to reclaim us. So we can see how merciful the Lord is, and moreover, and the ultimate thing as he that he incarnates is has the spiritual master, because it is said brahmanda brahmite kaun bhagyavan jiva guru krishna prasad pai bhakti lata beej. So if guru doesn't if he doesn't descend, because guru is the merciful incarnation of the supreme lord, and if the supreme lord doesn't take the form of the spiritual master and come down, then we as conditioned souls, we have to keep on going through the cycle of birth and death. So when we sing the morning Guru Ashtakam, that Samsara Dava Nalalita Lukka, it is so wonderfully mentioned. Prabhupada mentions in the translation as to how Guru is the Guru is like that cloud who takes the water from this ocean of mercy called Krishna, and he has in form of rain, he showers the mercy upon all the living entities. Sorry. So as to how Guru in form of the cloud, he takes the water from this ocean of mercy called Krishna, and in form of rain showers, he showers the mercy upon all the living entities in order to extinguish the blazing fire of this material existence. So these are certain examples that are being given in the scriptures. Wherein the law depicting the merciful quality of Krishna, has I mentioned as to how he protected Prahlad Maharaj, and he gave mercy to Hiranyakashipu in form of death. He gave his mercy to Sudama by giving everything, and he showed his mercy on Bali Maharaj by taking everything from Bali Maharaj. So time and again, even the scriptures are trying to focus on the merciful quality of the Supreme Lord. And in the same with this I was also hearing to another lecture from Amarendra Prabhu, wherein he mentions telling that when Lord, when Krishna himself came in Dwapara Yuga, and he performed his pastimes in Vrindavan, and when there were so many demons, attacking Krishna, who were sent by King Kamsa, because he had come to know that Krishna is going to come in form of death and going to take his life air. With that fear, he wanted to kill Krishna, and he was sending so many demons. And the one and for the first demon that he sent was the all famous story that we know is Putana. When Krishna, he sends, King Kamsa sends Putana to kill Krishna. And we all know how she dresses up as a beautiful woman, and she spreads poison to her breast, and she feeds the same milk to Krishna. And Krishna sucks the life air out of her. When he drinks milk from her, he sucks the life air from her. But in the entire pastime that I was hearing, Amarendra Prabhu mentions a very nice point as to how, even though Putana, she had, come to kill Krishna, but Krishna saw her as a mother, because, Mother Yashoda was also in that platform, and because, she's feeding him his breast milk. And similarly, he saw Putana on the platform of a mother, because she also offered her breast milk to Krishna. So she saw him on the platform of mother, And in spite of her evil act of poisoning Krishna through her breast milk, in spite of that, wickedness and that mentality of killing Krishna, Krishna only saw that how she offered her breast milk as a mother. He saw her on a motherly platform, and he awarded her liberation. And when Krishna and Amarendra Prabhu also mentions that when Krishna sucked life air out of Putana, and when she fell on the ground, she was being burnt. So the villagers, all the Brajavasis there, they decided to burn Putana. And when Putana's body was burnt, it is said that there was such the fragrance that came out of the burning body of Putana was just unimaginable. It was such a nice fragrance that was coming out of Putana's body. And Prabhu mentions it is because her body was being touched by the Supreme Lord. So we can see as to how the Supreme Lord, even though all the demons that were sent by Kamsa, and for Kamsa himself, the Supreme Lord awarded liberation in spite of such demonic mentality that they possessed. Krishna never saw that mentality of he did not see the demonic aspect in them. He saw that they're always remembering me. So that mood, for that purpose, that they are always remembering Krishna, the fact that they were remembering Krishna in a negative way, and we as devotees are not supposed to remember Krishna in the similar manner. But we can understand how merciful Krishna is, that he takes only the good qualities. So we can understand this through the analogy of us, Hamsa Pakshi, wherein this particular bird, it only takes the milk when there is a mixture of milk and water. It only takes milk and it leaves the water. So similarly, Krishna is the same way. He takes only the good aspect in each and every devotee or each and every jivatma. Even though we are filled with anarthas, Krishna is so merciful that he only focuses and he magnifies our good qualities of we rendering service to him. And he only for little service rendered to him, you know he makes his for the little service that we render to him, he takes us out of the cycle of birth and death, as it is being mentioned in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, that Swalpamapi yasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. And that fear of death, he takes away that fear of death. That is the biggest and this most scariest or the most fearful thing that anybody could have, is the fear of death, that quitting this body. So even a little service rendered to Krishna, he magnifies it. So Amarendra Prabhu tells that as to how Krishna, when we perform a little small service unto him, he becomes like Jagannath, and through his those big eyes he magnifies the small things that we have done. And when we as Jivatmas, due to our past activities, or all the anarthas filled in us, if we tend to offend or offend the Supreme Lord, or perform any act which is not pleasing to Krishna, then he has Bhaktavatsala Balaji, he closes his eyes. We know how Balaji is always he's closed his eyes, so he closes his eyes. And from this, we as devotees also can learn that when the Vaishnavas perform wonderful services, we have to also magnify them and see. And when uh, when they offend or intentionally or unintentionally, when they uh, perform any act which by mistake, then we as Balaji, we are supposed to close our eyes, but we always tend to do the opposite. So this is the merciful aspect of Krishna, as to how, he magnifies even the smallest of the smallest services done to him. And to this we can and but we can see, the general public coming and asking, if Krishna is so merciful, then, why does he uh, give reversals in our life? And it is the same topic that we are dealing in our Srimad Bhagavatam class, that is the prayers of Queen Kunti. And we can see, and she's the best example in the scriptures as to how she is, leading all, she's making herself go through all the difficulty, and in spite of that, in spite of all the reversals that she and the five Pandavas, her sons, have gone through, we can see how grateful Kunti Maharani is. So we can also, try and learn from such exalted devotees as to how do we accept reversals, and how is Krishna showing his mercy by, giving reversals in our life. So there is one analogy I was hearing too. So when a child, when he's being admitted by his parents to a martial arts class, and the martial arts teacher who is supposed to train the child with the skill of martial art, in that case, the teacher gives powerful moves and attacks, so that the child, that the person who is getting trained under the teacher, he wants to see what how will my student defend it. So, he keeps throwing such powerful attacks and moves, and it doesn't mean that the child cannot go back to his parents and complain that, my teacher at my martial arts class, he's, just punching me, or he's throwing such powerful attacks, and even if the child goes and tells to the parent will tell him that, the child he will they will tell his they will tell their children that, your teacher is doing that because he wants to train you. So if anybody attacks, he wants to, train you through all the cases, all the situations. So that that the child is being protected at any circumstance. So, and in case if the child doesn't, defend himself in the right way when the teacher attacks him, so that the child can improve in that particular aspect. So from this, from the entire analogy, we can understand that the teacher is just trying to make the child better and better. So any worse situation can come, and the child can defend himself, and he is all safe. So similar is the case of Krishna, is in the case of Krishna, as to how Krishna, like the martial arts teacher, he's throwing all the powerful punch on the Jivatmas. So he's trying to train us, he's trying to purify us in the entire process, so that we as conditioned soul, we have accumulated so many, there's so much of sinful activity we could have performed in our past life, and we have all accumulated it, and because of the previous birth's activity, we could it is us who is going through all these reversals and all the difficult situation. And Krishna is being so merciful that in spite of all these difficulties, he's trying to protect, like a protective father, how a father protects his child. In the similar manner, the Supreme Lord is trying to give his protection to the children. So we cannot, go and tell Krishna that, Krishna, why did you do this to me? It was supposed to happen in this particular way. We as living entities, we have to understand that Krishna has his own plan. Netai Sevani Mataji, she gives a very beautiful statement that, there can be only two plans that has to work out. One is that we as conditioned souls, we prepare a plan, and it is the other plan is of Krishna's. So she tells that, if your plan is being executed, and well and good, no, when we plan it, we always plan in such a way that we are benefited. Any action we perform, we are benefited through that particular action. So if the things are going as the way you have planned, then well and good. But if the most perfect thing is, if the things are happening as per Krishna's plan, then we have to be very happy and grateful to Krishna, because we will plan according to our present circumstance. But Krishna, he sees what is this living entity performed in the past, and what activities will he perform in the present, and what will be his actions in the future. So depending upon our past, present, and future, Krishna plans accordingly. And if Krishna's plan is being executed, that is the most best thing that can happen. So similarly, we cannot, we can see because we are all hearing Srimad Bhagavatam class every day, and we can see as to how Kunti Maharani, she lists the suffering that she has gone through, that where her son Bhima was given a poison cake, and how Duryodhana and the entire gang of Kauravas, always troubled the Pandavas, and how they built this wax palace and they set it on the fire. We have seen these prayers wherein Kunti Maharani is listing all of the suffering she has gone through, and she's thanking Krishna, because in spite of all the suffering that she has gone through, Krishna was there with them, and Krishna protected them. So if Krishna is giving reversals in our life, we have to understand that it is a form of mercy that Krishna is showing upon us. And Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, he states this example: when a child is very young, the father takes the child and throws him in the air, and he comes back, and he holds the child again. So when the child does this when the father does it to the child for the first time, the child is a little fearful, and he does it for the second time, now third time. The child knows, okay, even if my father is throwing me up, he's going to catch hold of me. So similarly, we have to have that faith on the Supreme Lord, that Krishna, even if he's throwing us in the air, he's going to hold us back, he's not going to let us fall down. So the child, when the father is throwing him, the child has so much faith. So similarly, we should also have faith on Krishna, and that is what Kunti Maharani in her prayers she's depicting. So it is always seen that in the material world, that as to how if the things happen according to our favor, we usually thank the Supreme Lord for giving giving a situation in as we desire, and making things favorable to us. But in the prayers of Kunti Maharani, we can see how grateful she is to the Lord for giving her reversals in the life. And we as devotees, we have to also be grateful to the Lord for giving us reversals in in our life, because he's purifying us in the entire process, so that we can go back, we become eligible. Only when we get purified, we become eligible for going back home, back to Godhead, so that we can resume our services there to Radha Krishna. So these were some of the points that I have heard, and I have shared. So in case I've done any mistakes, I seek your forgiveness, and I thank Parabhakti Mataji and Mathurapati Prabhu for giving me this opportunity, and all Vaishnavas for your patient hearing. So thank you. Hare Krishna.